Hello, I'm Scott Ainslie. I am a local Lambeth councillor for the Green Party, and I've been a long-term activist for the last 10 years. I was one of the founding members of Sustainable Streatham because I saw a film called The Age of Stupid in 2009, and it reawakened my environmentalism, and it has set me on a course that has led me to become London's Green MEP as well. But I'm standing as an MP candidate because the problems that we are facing at the moment are in our own democracy. There's been an assault on our democracy. I think that that's why I'm saying we need more progressive people in Parliament, and we need a lot of reform. The science is clear and unequivocal, it's already been expressed. We don't have time to adjust. These parties have all had a go at it, they've blown it, and I'm afraid the Green Party does do what Extinction Rebellion insists, which is to tell the truth. We've been speaking truth to power for so long, and we're fed up with excuses. There is no more time. The time is out. So don't take it from me. You would expect me to say that, right? Why don't you listen to organisations like Greenpeace or Friends of the Earth that say that this is the most ambitious and closest to the manifestos that they would put together than any of the other parties on this platform this evening. I was one of the founding members of Sustainable Streatham 10 years ago, and we wanted to make Streatham a safer, cleaner, greener, fairer place to live, work and thrive. And I think that we've been working cross-party with all groups in order to make that happen. People that are even not part of any political party, we've been working together to make that happen. And that's one way I've used my platform. And also as a Lambeth councillor, I was the first to declare a climate emergency, the first council in London to declare a climate emergency and set a target of 2030. That's how I've been using my platform, and within the European Parliament, we have just declared a climate emergency. So what we need now is an action plan and a timeline to get that in place, to make sure that we deliver on it, because words are easy, as I've said before. Just to start with Greenpeace, they rated our manifesto 38 out of 40 in terms of our policies. Labour 32, Lib Dems 30. I think that there is inadequate plans put forward by the rest. If we look at climate targets, 2030, not quite sure because it's undecided, 2045 and 2050. We need to all be more ambitious, quicker, in order to avoid this ecological and climate breakdown. These emergencies that we face, also the public health emergency of too many people dying prematurely because of our polluted, toxic air. Here's the truth. Lambeth turned off the air pollution monitors because the data from it was too embarrassing. And they spent a lot of time trying to get them back on. I mean, it got to the point where we were going around with our little test tubes and putting them up on the high road, and we found that within 3 weeks of data, places on the high road, just off the high road on Mitcham Lane, all these red routes were exponentially way off the scale beyond EU air pollution standards. By churches, by schools, particularly by St Leonard's School, they were breaching safety limits. We got those air pollution monitors turned back on, and we know that the air pollution monitor down in Brixton uses up all of its annual safety breach limits within the first 7 days of the year. So the rest of the year is breaking the law. So there's the truth about air pollution and air pollution monitors. We need living streets. We need streets that are alive and people are happy to walk down. We need school streets, exclusion zones around schools so that children can safely get into school and not be breathing in these toxic airs. I was one of the founding members of the Safe A23 campaign, and yes, we do need segregated bike lanes along the high road because it is dangerous. I don't mind it, I cycle in the bus lanes anyway, but we need 3-year-olds up to 80-year-olds cycling, and it needs to be safe for all of them. Thank you. So the Green Party doesn't have a whipping system. You're allowed to vote free as you wish. But can you imagine if we had 10 Caroline Lucases in Parliament? When a Green is in the room, they really do shine a spotlight on the truth, and they do really make a massive impact. We've seen that with Green councillors across the country, following the money, keeping the spotlight on all the areas where a lot of the time there have been excuses over the years, there have been conflicts of interest, there have been all sorts of things that have hampered any progress along the way. And Greens are slowly but surely making that progress throughout the country. We had our most successful election with the local elections, doubling the number of councillors, doubling the number of MEPs. If our political system in this country wasn't so backward, and a shame on Labour for being the only social democratic party in the world that still supports a system of first past the post, then our democracy would be in a much better state and would be sorting out our problems a lot faster. I had absolutely no idea that Dominic Cummings was going to be ruling in the way that he is doing. It is off the scale. People say to me in the European Union, what's your game plan? Well, it keeps changing. Because who would have believed that someone would have got away with lying in Parliament, that someone would have got away with proroguing Parliament, lying to the Queen, and being in power with 0.02% of the population. He's not my Prime Minister, he's not anyone else's, so the game has to keep changing. Also, I think questions have to be asked of the Liberal Democrats. They still will not reform the Lobbying Act. Lobbying in the European Union is to such an extent that we could have solved the climate crisis decades ago. The science has been there for decades. We've had this information for decades. What is keeping these parties back? Look at them. Look at them very, very closely. Put a telescope and a spotlight on them, and you'll see that we need to reform the Lobbying Act. Where does it end? Where does economic growth end? Where does profit maximisation end? Where does the amount of wealth that one person accumulates end? We live on a finite planet. If we had 5, 10, 15 planets, maybe we could talk about perpetual economic growth. But I'm sorry, we have one planet. There ain't no planet B. There ain't no jobs on a dead planet. There ain't no shareholdings. There ain't no richness on a dead planet. There's just a dead planet. So I'm afraid that our existential crisis that we face must come before economic truth. And you know what? It doesn't have to come with a price where we're all beating ourselves, for changing the way we live. We could create a better world, a world that is far more equal than it is, a world that is far more, a far better place, just by achieving a happiness index, for example, in terms of measuring our happiness, how much time we get to spend with our children, how much time they get to be children. All of these things we should be looking and measuring, not whether economic growth year on year is just too narrow a focus.